Hi everyone, good evening. I hope you're able to hear me.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so in the last session, we just started talking about Azure Data Factory. By using Azure Data Factory, we are going to do the two different operations. One is data ingestion, and other is data transformation. So how we can do the data ingestion and how we can do the data transformation that I'm going to take you through. In order to do that, in order to apply this one or this one, first you need to have a Azure Data Factory. So if you have a Azure Data Factory, then only can do it, right? So we need to know how we can set up our data factory for our own practice. At the time of working, you are not going to do all this. The setting up the services will be taken care by administrators. But for our practice, you have to set up it. So in my case, I'm just going to show you how we can do setup. Just observe. Let's go to the portal. So is everyone having the account, right? Is everyone created? So if account is not created, please make sure to create an account. So account is required for us. So from today, you have to do the practice. You got my point, right?
Yeah, boss.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So let me take you through here. In order to create the data factory, you have to use the service called data factory services or data factory services. Data factory services, we need to use it, right? Now, when I use this one, it is going to ask you to pass only feed details only. It is very, very simple to create it. To just observe it on data factories. And I'm going to create a new data factory. Just observe plus create. So I'm going to take the resource group is testing RG I'm taking. ADF Bhaskar 321 I'm taking. That is the name of the data factory. So here it is asking a minimum details here. Since we already know how we can create a ADLS Gen 2 and SQL Server, when you compare them, these are all having very, very limited options. Very limited options we're having. Okay, so resource group is required, subscription is required, and name of the data factory. From where you wanted to take the data factory, you have to specify that. And we need to take version 2. Okay, so there is no version 1 presently. Version 1 was deprecated, so you don't need to worry about it. Once you provided these details and hit on review plus create. The way I'm creating, in the same way, everyone has to create a data factory. Let's hit on create. Let's go to resource. Now just refresh it, not yet come. Now you can see there is a data factory. So I'm just going to open this one. Once I hit on open, you can see here. Now, in order to launch the Data Factory Studio, we have two different options. One is by using the portal, you can open it, or you can also open by using the Azure portal. So that is adf.azure.com. So separate portal is there for this. Within the Azure, we have a subdomain. So in that way also you can open your data factory. So once I open it, either one of the way you can open it. I'm just going to open it from the data factory. I mean to say Azure portal. Let's launch your data factory studio. Once I launch it, it is coming to the adf.azure.com only. To work with the Azure data factory, we don't need to have access for the portal. Now, this is the place where we are going to spend most of the time as a data engineer. Okay, so here this is the account that you're having, and this is the name of the data factory. By using the data factory, we can do data ingestion. I told you one of the primary responsibility of your Azure Data Factory is to ingest the data. We talked about it theoretically, how we can ingest the data. We have seen with the diagrammatically in the last session. And the second one we are going to see is data transformation. We are going to transform the data. This is the first one and this is the second one. Once you've done both together, then we need to orchestrate it. To orchestrate, we are going to use this. So orchestration also we are going to do with the data factory. And there is a one more option. You just ignore this. It is not related to for data engineers. I'll give some clarity on it. Why we need to have SSIS integration runtime as part of your data factory. So this is the home, and this is the author. This place 100% development is going to be happen. In the pencil symbol, we are going to do the development. And there is a clock or monitor symbol you can see. So where we are going to do the monitoring, we'll talk about it. And this is the manage. We are going to do manage of your link services, integration runtimes, triggers. All the stuff is going to come to this particular place. Now just observe, I'm going to take you through one by one. You can see manage it is. Inside the manage, what it is available. Inside manage, what it is available. Inside the monitor, what it is available, what it is having. Author, how exactly it is having. And home, you can see it. So each and every option we are going to come across so that you can get better clarity about it. Now, let's talk about the building blocks of data factory. So in the interview, they will give a requirement. In the interview, they will give a requirement and they will ask you, how can you create a pipeline? If I give this requirement, what are the steps that you need to take to design your pipeline? So to explain that, definitely you need to know about the building blocks. If you know the building blocks, then explaining is very, very simple. So the building block, one of the building block is integration runtimes. So whenever you're going to start any development in the data factory, you have to keep in mind which integration runtime we required. There are three different types of integration runtime. 100% an interview question will be there. What are the different types of integration runtimes we are having and purpose of them? And they will give some requirement and they will ask you which integration runtime is suitable or where did you install integration runtime? These are all the common questions when you go for integration runtimes. And another building block is link service. You need to have a link service. If you don't have a link service, then you cannot do anything. And data sets is another building block. Activities, data flows, pipeline, and trigger. At this point of time, you may have a lot of confusion in the naming standard or names. But once we come across few things, then you can understand by the next weekend, you can give the answer. The building blocks of data factory can easily give the answer because we are going to spend the time with each and every item. Now, if we take an integration runtime, let me talk about a little more in detail about it. Okay, so without integration runtime, you cannot create any data pipeline in the data factory. So this is the heart of your data factory. If you don't have the vehicle, you cannot move the data from one place to other place. So what it is going to have, what this integration runtime is going to have is, it is going to have a compute. It is going to have a compute. Okay, so without compute, you cannot move the data from one place to other place. So integration runtime is nothing but a compute structure used by Azure Data Factory. Why it is going to use to give the integration capability across different network environments, or which is used to extract the data from the source and load the data into the target. So vehicle is required. Vehicle is required to move the items from one place to other place. In the same way, to move the data from one place to other place, we required integration runtime. So integration is nothing but compute power which is used to extract the data from various data sources and loads the data into various destinations. There are three different types of integration runtimes. How many types are there? There are three different types of integration runtimes. One is Azure integration runtime, self-hosted integration runtime, and SSIS integration runtime. If really worked, when they give some requirement, if it really worked in your experience, I'm sure you can give which integration runtime is required for your requirement. So based on that, you can say whether you are having experience or not. There are many things are there to identify either the person having experience or not. So what do you mean by this Azure integration runtime? When we are going to use Azure integration runtime? Let's say if my requirement or if my source is Azure data sources. By seeing this diagram, you can understand what we are going to do, right? So if you observe here, I have a data sources within the cloud. The symbol is saying that symbol indicates cloud. In the cloud, I have a SQL database. In the cloud, I have a Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. We are already aware of how we can set up these services. How we can set up these services, we are already aware of it. Now, if I wanted to read the data from these particular systems, we required compute. Your data factory is required compute. So compute is nothing but processor, right? So processor is required or compute is required. So that compute you are going to get with the help of integration runtime. With the help of integration runtime, you are going to get it. So if your data source is cloud, I mean to say if your data source is Azure sources. So what type of storage it is? Azure storage systems. I'm giving clearly, if you are taking the data from the Azure data storages, 100% we are going to use Azure integration runtime. We are going to use Azure integration runtime to read the data from Azure platform. Any storage system from the Microsoft Azure, you can use Azure integration runtime in order to read the data from the source. And when the moment you create a data factory, by default, this Azure integration runtime comes with the data factory. Now we created a data factory, right? You just go to the data factory and observe. You can see here integration runtimes. In integration runtime, we have already one integration runtime is running. Okay, so that is auto resolve integration runtime of type is Azure integration runtime. So it's a Azure integration runtime. Integration runtime is the compute infrastructure to provide the following data integration capabilities across different network environments. So which is going to use to extract data from the various systems and loads the data into various targets. But if your data source is a cloud systems, if your data is there in the cloud systems, then we require to use Azure integration runtime to read the data from this kind of systems. In the same way, if your target is Azure, if your target is also Azure, then you have to load the data into the target. You're using here ADF. To load the data into the Azure, then you have to use again Azure integration runtime in this side also. So without Azure integration runtime, you cannot read the data from the Azure platform. And by using Azure integration runtime, we can also load the data into the Azure platform. So if your source is Azure, if your target is Azure, in that case, you can use Azure integration runtime to read and write the data. Is everyone clear with the Azure integration runtime? Why we need to go and use it? It's very, very important. Okay, let's go to the next integration runtime. The next integration runtime I'm having here is self-hosted integration runtime. If you observe, these systems are non-Azure systems. This is not a Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Let's say this is a file. Okay, so this is a file system. Okay, so if I wanted to read the data from non-Azure systems, if I wanted to read the data from non-Azure systems, then I required self-hosted integration runtime. Without self-hosted integration runtime, you cannot read the data from outside. Simply, if it is not available in your network, I mean to say, give me 1 minute, please. I'm sorry. So to read the data from on-prem systems or private networks, we are going to use self-hosted integration runtime. We're going to use the self-hosted integration runtime. Without self-hosted integration runtime, you cannot read the data from non-Azure storages. And 100% is when you're working with Azure data engineering, your target will be Azure data storages only. To load the data into Azure platform, we are going to use Azure integration runtime. Other side, we are going to use the self-hosted integration runtime. So when they give some requirement, they will expect what type of integration runtime you are going to give in the answer. So that is about self-hosted integration runtime. We are going to see everything practically. The third integration runtime is SSIS IR. SSIS integration runtime. It is used to run the SSIS packages as it is in the data factory. Let's say, for example, if you're having a SSIS project, which is having some packages, package 1 and package 2, something like that. If you wanted to run these packages as it is in the data factory, if you wanted to run them, then you required SSIS integration runtime to run these packages. So in that particular cases, we are going to use SSIS integration runtime so that we can run these packages. The cost is little high and do not even try for practicing SSIS IR. Not even 5% are chances to use it. In my entire experience in data engineering, I did not come across anywhere to use this SSIS IR. The only thing you need to remember, self-hosted IR and Azure IR. These two IRs you need to keep in mind. And interview point of view, you have to give the explanation why we need to go for SSIS IR. So to lift and shift your SSIS packages without changing anything, you can lift and shift your package into the data factory, and from the data factory, you can call or you can execute your packages. In that kind of situations, we are going to use SSIS IR. So otherwise, it is not required. And the next is the next building block. We have seen first building block, that is integration runtime, IR. Now we are going to talk about the link services. So link services also is very, very important. Everyone knows how we can create a link service, but how can we create a link service dynamically? That is important. So that says how much experience you're having. We are going to see all these things. Why we need to go for link service? Let's say, for example, I'll give generic example. When I was there in Chennai, I relocated from Chennai to Hyderabad. Okay, very long ago. I relocated to Hyderabad. So when I'm trying to relocate, I need to move my items, right? I have a items. Okay. So definitely I need to move my items from one location to another location. This is my target location. It is an empty. I took the house here and I'm vacating this house. So I need to move my items from this location to this location. So if I wanted to move the items from this location from one location to another location, I consulted packers and movers. Most of you are aware of it, right? Packers and movers. So they will pack all the items and they will move it. Packers and movers. So once I connected, then I gave my details and all, and he explained about the price and all. So once it is accepted, once the price and all accepted, we need to share my address details. I need to share my address details to this person. Otherwise, this person cannot come to my location. If I don't give the address to this person, he cannot come to this location. So he's having a vehicles, right? He will be having a vehicle and he will come to the particular location. Now address is there, right? I'm just stressing this address. This address is nothing but link service. So link service is going to have your address details, the address details of the data, address details of these items. So I gave the address details and he came to here. If you don't give the address to that person, this person cannot come to your location to collect the items. In the same way, here also you are going to have an address and you have to give the destination address also to this person. Otherwise, he cannot deliver the items to the address. So address is required for the source system. Address is required for the target system because someone has to come and collect the data here and someone has to go and deliver the items in this place. The same example you can also take Zomato or Swiggy. Okay, so the same to same like this we have many examples in the market. So address details are going to be there in the link services. It is used to have a connection details. So you just imagine this items is nothing but a database or database tables. You have to give the address of your data, the name of the database and the server name, credentials, all those things you need to give it to come to here. In the same way here also. If I wanted to take the data, if I wanted to take only the data, then we need to go for data store connectors. Compute connector also is available. I told you Azure Data Factory is a cloud-based integration services. Cloud-based integration services. If I wanted to get the Databricks runtime into the data factory to run your job, then you need to have a compute from other side. So compute, you have to take it from the Databricks. So in that case, we are going to use this. If you wanted to run any other job which is not available in the data factory, then you require the compute. We are going to see them practically. Okay, so just observe how exactly they are available. Now, if you go to the link services, if I hit on plus new, you can see here, I have a data store connectors and compute connectors. Inside the data store connector, I have a Azure related connectors here, database connectors, file connectors, generic protocol characters, and I have a NoSQL connectors, services, and so on. In the same way, if you go to the compute, in the compute, we have a Azure Databricks connectors, HD Insight connector. Okay, so Synapse connectors and Fabric also, Fabric is not available. Okay, so like this, we have a varieties of the connectors even for the compute also. As part of our sessions, we are going to use this Azure Databricks extensively. So this is about your link services. We understand why we need to go for link services. Is anyone having any question here with the link services? Now, I have many items here, but you may not transfer all the items. It all depends on your requirement. Okay, so if you are going permanently, you can go. It's all again depends if your my requirement that time was complete movement. And you can also go for parcel movement also, right? When you go for parcel movement, then you may not take all the items from this location to this location. You're going to leave few things in your in this particular location. So that means what items you require that you're going to give to this person, and that items will be taken and will be transferred. So who is going to say that particular details is a data set. A data set is going to decide, the data set is going to decide what we are going to have it. So that is what I'm just having here, you can see. So data set is used to represent the data that is required for your pipeline. The items that you require to transfer from one place to other place. So you're going to pack only required items, or you may take all the items also, but that will be decided by your data set. Okay, so whatever the connectors you have used to connect your data source, the same connectors can be used to set the data set. Okay, so let's say for example, I have hundreds of items here, but I asked them to take only 10 items as per my requirement. They selected 10 items. Just imagine this is the ADF, and when they're taking 10 items here, they have to deliver the 10 items in the target address. They have to deliver it. For delivering also you require data set, because whatever the items you're having, the same items you have to deliver it here. So data set is required when the data movement is there. 100% a source data set is required and target data set is required. So two link services, source link service is required and target link service is required. And source data set, target data set. One integration runtime or two integration runtimes. Okay, so there may be one, there may be two. We are going to see them. Okay, so whatever the connectors we have used to create a link services, the same connectors can be used to create the data set. When we see this practically, then you can understand very easily. And activities are going to participate in your development. So that is also is one of the building block. Activities is also is one of the building block. If you see this diagram, you can understand the outer box is going to represent a pipeline. So this one we can say it is a pipeline. And inside the pipeline, you are going to have activities. Here I have activity 1, activity 2, activity 3, 4, and so on. We have various activities here. And activity is going to represent single processing step. What do you mean by single processing step is, I wanted to find the size of the file. I wanted to find the size of the file. I wanted to check the file exists or not. Or I wanted to check how many number of columns are there in the file. Or I wanted to check is number of columns are equals to expected number of columns. So all these things we can call it as an activity. It is used to represent a single processing step in the pipeline. Output of activity 1 will be input to the another activity. It may be an input. Okay, activity 2 output of activity 2 may be input to the activity 3, or something like this also can go. It's all depends. So how we can make them to connect, we'll see. But the purpose of this activity is something like this. I wanted to check some conditions. Then some activity will be there. I wanted to look into the table. Then there is one more activity. So for every action, there is one activity. So that we are going to see. I have given some examples here. And I told you by using the data factory, we are also going to do the data transformation. So data transformation, how you are going to do is with the help of data flow activity. Data flow activity, market is ready, not even ready to up to 5%. In my current project, we're using the data flow. I'm just migrating all the data flow related activities with the Databricks. because there are many problems are there. They realized recently, and I just recently joined in my one of my previous organization. I'm just working on it uh, to redesign the entire data flow activities with the Azure Databricks. And why Azure Databricks? We'll talk about it. So data flow activity is used to save the data. It's used to transform the data between your data source system and target systems based on the requirement. So this is also is one of the building block if you wanted to apply data transformation. All these things, activities, data flow activity, all these things we can call it as a pipeline. Collection of activities is nothing but a pipeline. So it is used to represent a logical group of activities that performs one unit of work. And one pipeline can have a single activity and one pipeline can have a collection of activities. 100% in real time, you're going to have a collection of activities. You're not going to have only one activity. 100% there will be collection of activities only. So in order to invoke all the development, we are going to use the trigger. So trigger is also is one of the building block. We are going to talk about three different types of triggers as part of our sessions. One is schedule trigger. They are very, very important. And tumbling window trigger. And event based trigger. Okay, so all these three, we are going to talk about it more in detail. At this point of time, I just wanted to say the trigger will be used to invoke your pipeline. Trigger will be used to execute your pipeline. The very first use case I'm going to take you through, just try to understand. The very first exercise. Everyone has to do this. Okay, so try to do by tomorrow's session. Okay, so that it will be easy for you for further sessions. Create a pipeline to copy the data from input directory to output directory in the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. In the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, I wanted to do it. I have a Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 is the source and my target is also Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Account name is same. First of all, you have to identify what you have to do is you have to think about what we require. The steps to do your pipeline. The steps you need to identify. I have given here also. Identify which integration runtime is required for source and target. Whenever you are going to do any development, this point you have to keep in mind. Which integration runtime you required. So to decide which integration runtime we required, you have to think about what is my source system. And my source system is Azure platform. And what is your target system? My target system is Azure platform. If that is the case, then you can use Azure integration runtime. If your source is Azure, you can use Azure integration runtime. If your target is Azure, we are going to use integration runtime, Azure integration runtime. So that is the first step. Now the question is, do you want to set up this Azure integration runtime? No, because it is already available. It is already available with the ADF. So since it is available, we don't need to set up it. Just observe, when I go to the integration runtime, it is up and running. I don't need to set up it again. Some places we need to set up it. Why we need to set up, I'll give it. I'll give the clarity on it later in some point of time. So there is an entry question. When I'm going to talk about it, I'll give the answer for that. So that is one step that you have to keep in mind. And the second step that you required to know is link service. First is IR and second is link service. So link service, how many link services are required? Whenever you are going to create a link services, you are going to create based on the system. In this particular case, if you observe, here I'm having a same, whatever the account I'm having, the same account I'm having here also. Account is same. When you're having account is same, then only one link service is enough. Creating a link services for source. We need to create a link service for the source and we need to create a link service for target. IR is already available. You have to create one link service here. One link service enough for source and target. The third is you have to create a data sets. Data sets we require to create it. I told you, whenever you are going to move the data from one place to other place, 100% is two data sets are required. One source data set, one target data set. And then you are going to design the pipeline. We'll do all these steps practically so that you can get better clarity. Now let's come to here. Integration runtime is available. I don't need to set up the integration runtime. Then what we need to set up? Link service is required. Creation of the link service is one-time job. You don't need to create again and again. It's a one-time job. And most of the times you may not get a chance to create a link service until unless it is a brand new project. If you're having experience, you can set up the link service and team members can use the link service. All team members can work with the same data factory. Parallelly, we can work. There is no problem. Okay, so people can use the link service once it is created. Now I'm just going to say the link service is going to define the connection information, which defines the connection information to a data store or compute. Let me hit on plus new. Now what is my source system? My source system is Azure. Just select it. These are all the Azure source systems. These are all sitting in the Azure. My source system is Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. My source system is Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Just go here into your storage account. I'm just going to my resource group testing RG. Okay. Let me go for storage accounts. I created many storage accounts. Okay. I'll do one thing. I'll just go and create a storage account with the same naming standard. I think it is not available. So let me create a storage account so that you can feel this is a fresh practice. So I'm just going to take the resource group is testing resource group. This is my storage account name. Bhaskar ADLH into AD01. Primary storage, that is Azure Data Storage and Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Just take the links, just take this LRS and let's go to next. Here we need to check this checkbox. Hierarchical namespace, we need to check it. This is important because we're always going to use Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Hit on review plus create. Hit on create. Now it is done. And then we need to create a container. Let's go to the storage. Container names, we need to create it. So I'm just saying here input directory and output directory. So I need to set up that. Plus container. The name of the container is data files. I'm just giving. Let's create it. Inside the data files, add directory called input directory. And output is not available. I'll create with the help of data factory. Inside the input directory, I wanted to keep the file called customer.csv file. You have to set up your source for practicing. Customer.csv. Let's upload it. Now I have a data here. Let's duplicate this. So I wanted to create an output directory and I wanted to keep the file in the output directory. All this stuff has to be done by your data factory. Your data factory itself has to do it. Now since my source is there in Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, you have to create a link service with Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Hit on continue. I'm just taking here link service underscore ADLS. I'm just giving some name. Just leave everything default. Take the subscription. Storage account you have taken, right? You just take the storage account, whatever you have created. It's a one-time job. Hit on test connection and create it. It's very simple. Where is your data source? It is pointing to your storage account. One link service is enough for your source and target. And now we need to create a data sets. Two data sets we required. Just observe, you can see, hit on these three dots. Hit on new data set. Whatever the connectors we have come across the link service, the same connectors are available in the data set side also. Just select this one, Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Hit on continue. Here I'm having various options here, various formats of the files I'm having it. Since my file is CSV file, I'm just going to take delimited text. We are going to see the CSV, JSON, and Parquet file. We are going to come across it. And if you wanted to test others, then we're also having the data if you wanted to practice. Now I'm just going to take the delimiter and hit on continue. Let's give the name of the data set is ds underscore data files underscore input underscore file name. I'm just giving some naming standard for creating a data set. The link service you need to choose because without link service, you cannot go to the data. Link service is required. And then just hit on the browse, data files, input, and file. Hit OK. My file is a CSV file, so header is there in the file, so I'm just keeping this one. And I don't need to have the schema. The schema is not required, so I can just say no. And a minimum details we are providing here. There are many dataset properties are there. You're creating a dataset. You can see the dataset more properties after creation of the dataset. Okay, so I just provided the container name, folder name, and file name. Let's hit OK. In the same way, you need to create a target dataset also. The target dataset is pointing to the output directory. Same to same steps, no change in the steps. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, a delimited text. Give the name of the dataset, that is ds underscore data files underscore output underscore customer. Same link service within the same account I wanted to create it. You can also enter the items here. Data files. Now directory output directory was not existed. So I'm just entering it. And file name, I'm just giving customer.csv. After creation of the dataset also you can give it. So I'm just giving while creating the datasets. Only this is existed. This is not existed. This is not existed. Your data factory will create it. You're not going to create the data, this directory. Your data factory will create the directory if the directory is not existed, and your data factory will create the file if the file is not existed. So that is having a capability to do it. Let's hit OK. Now two data sets are ready. Then we need to create a pipeline. The next step that you have to do is designing of the pipeline. Design pipeline based on the requirement. So here I'm going to use the activities. Just observe. Hit on pipeline 3 dots. Hit on new pipeline. You can minimize this blade to get the space. You can also minimize these properties. This entire space is the design surface. This entire space is the design surface of your pipeline. You have a various activities here. I told you collection of activities is nothing but your pipeline. And you can design the pipeline here. And we have a parameters, variables, settings, many things are there. We are going to talk about them. For time being, I'm just going to use one of the activity. What is this copy activity? What we're going to do with that? We'll talk more in detail in next session. But now I'm just dragging and dropping this. Let's go to the source. In the source, I'm taking input data set. In the target, I'm taking output data set. That's all. So once you're done, if you want to test this, if you wanted to test, then you need to use the debug. So debug means you're running the pipeline. Let it run. Now it is completed. If you go to your target, just refresh this folder. You can see the output. Inside the output, I have a data. I just uploaded only in the input directory. Then who brought this file? Who brought this file into this output directory is your data factory. With the data factory, you're bringing this data to here. So we are going to talk about more in detail about these activities, what activities we're having, and what is the purpose of this copy activity. It is very, very important. Without copy activity, you never work with the Azure Data Factory. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this more in detail. I'm stopping here. If you have any question, you can ask me. And I wanted to say one thing. Just give me a minute. I'm just sharing the payment details in the chart. So please make sure to clear the payment so that I'm planning to change the meeting request. Okay. So from tomorrow, it is very, very important sessions we're going to have. So once you have done your payment, let me know. I'll share the new meeting request to you. Okay. I just kept in the chat box. You can just take that one. And if you have any doubt, you can just reach out with me with the same number. This is my number. Okay. Any question, guys, before stopping?
No.
Okay, then we'll see you on tomorrow. Thank you for joining.
So, Bhaskar, will you be able to send these recordings?
Yeah. I gave the access. If you already paid, I gave the access. You'll get the today's recording. Okay. Ramya, right?
Yeah.
I'll share that, Ramya.
Okay, boss.
You'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll see you
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Okay.